So the last time we had quite a conversation, and then we started talking about a lot of details, some wonderful things that came out of a bad situation for you. So, can you just back up just a little bit and share that piece of what would we call that celebration?
Celebration, okay.
Because I know for a fact that this is going to inspire someone. To go through all that and not let the obstacles get in the way really makes a big difference. And so I want you to be able to, you know, tell us about that.
Okay. So about mid last year, I was pregnant with my last child, and I pretty much started having some pain, and I ended up being in a wheelchair. Um, Previous pregnancies, I had some similar difficulties, but never to that extreme. And so I just assumed I was going to be fine after I had the baby. I was ready to go ahead and go to nursing school. It's just a brief setback, I didn't think it was going to be anything more than that. Well, fast forward to me having her, I ended up finding out that I had a separation in my pelvis. So at the beginning of this year, I saw two surgeons, and they were saying that I was going to have surgery because there wasn't much literature on the diagnosis that they didn't know what my life would look like after that. Recovery was uncertain. If I walk again, what walking would be like for me. So at that point, I was very discouraged because I didn't understand how my life had gotten to that point. In that time, I was
That's
29 years old.
scary. My gosh.
Yeah, I was 29. I'm like, I'm really young for all of this, and I have plans. I got three children at this point. I got to keep up with. This is just not like, how do we get here? Um, so I have a lot of people around me that were praying, supportive, and they were telling me, don't let this, you got to trust God. I'm like, how do I trust God with something like this? This looks like scary. But I pressed forward. I started praying. And I think through this, my relationship with God grew stronger because I had to trust with something that didn't make any sense at all. And so what ended up happening was my faith at this point was being tested. And I think most people probably would have held off on any other plans. But I said, you know what? I'm just going to keep moving. Like, I'm going to keep going as if I was going to go if I was walking. So I remember I decided to start studying for my entrance exam for nursing. And I ended up taking it 2 weeks later. I remember I was in physical therapy. And I think I mixed up the time I was supposed to take my test. And I realized, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be taking my test right now. Like, I'm going to be running late. So I got in that wheelchair and I hauled tail. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm late. They were like, it's fine. Go ahead and take your exam. I went there and I passed. And so I still wasn't even sure how I was going to even be able to actually be in nursing school because I couldn't walk. And you got to be able to walk and you got to be able to lift and everything like that. But I still was pressing on my faith to just keep going.
Yes.
Finish my physical therapy. And they even were amazed at the progress I was making because I went from being in a wheelchair to walking with a wheelchair to eventually just walking. And so God really showed out, and He really showed His strength in the whole process because now I know not to ever question if a situation is too big for Him.
That's right. That's right, and that is huge, because to go from being wheelchair bound and then being able to so quickly get through to being able to ambulate,
right?
It doesn't usually, it's not that short process at all. So, I think that one of the key points is your faith, and I think a lot of times it becomes a struggle. So now it's like you're trying to stay afloat and you're forgetting.
Right.
that there's this one thing that you can do, So
you got to push through, and I did not have to have surgery at all. Never had anybody cut on me, nothing more than that. And I remember when I was doing my physical therapy, because I was like, you know what, I'm going to push through and just get it done. And the neurosurgeon was like, you don't need surgery. We're just going to do a little bit more physical therapy. And I've been walking, lifting, all kind of stuff. I've been fine. And you would never think that just 5-6 months ago that I was in a position where I wasn't walking at all. So God is good.
God is good. So for those that might be going through a similar situation,
Mm-hmm.
how would you inspire them? Because it is scary.
I feel like anything that you just have to look at your situation, realize that there's some things you can control and there's some things you
Exactly.
cannot control. So the things you can't control, definitely put them in God's hands. I would say even if you can, put it in His hands regardless. But having a strong faith, having people around you that are
That
faith
support.
minded,
Mm-hmm.
definitely makes a difference. Because even like I think we talk about faith, you know, it's one thing to have it, but you surround yourself with people that have the same, you know,
Exactly.
the same, path, because you're going to need you. You're going to need them to remind you of
Yes.
what you're standing firm on when times get hard. It's easy to say God is good when things are going great, but you need it even more. You need to remember that when
Yes.
things aren't going great.
Exactly.
So definitely.
Well, I think there are a couple of situations I know of, and you'll definitely inspire a few people, you know, because when you're in the thick of it
Mm-hmm.
and you can't walk, you know, I think the strongest person that I've never met was my husband's nephew, who was in school and suddenly ambulates just fine, but then due to some unknown situation was not able to walk and was still going after his dream while he was in that wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
You know, unfortunately, he passed away. He was only 23, but it just really shows you that because the situation has changed,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't mean that you can't go after your dream.
Yeah.
You know, because the obstacles are always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had them. Everybody has had obstacles when you really have a plan. So I feel like one of the things that you are paying attention to is the fact that, yes, I am saved, I have faith, but here I was trying so hard and I forgot that all I had to do, didn't I already turn this over to God?
Yeah.
You know, so it's a matter of just prayers and saying, okay, I leave this one in your hands.
You gotta really leave it there, because I know, like, the thing is, I got rebaptized last year, my birthday, my 28th birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and no, my 29th birthday actually. And they told me, you know, when you get baptized, you're gonna get tried, and boom, that was like 3 months later, I couldn't walk, and I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, and that was a very humbling experience, because I went from being able to do so much for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a go-getter. I'm gonna, make a way, but I had to have everybody do things for me. So I think there were times that I felt like I was super depressed, because I felt like something had been taken from me.
Of course.
And I was grieving that, and I didn't know if I'd ever be able to be back to my own life. And I kept saying, I want my old life back. I want my old life. But God showed me, you don't want the old life back. You want the new life, because in that new life is restoration, and you're going to have better than what you ever thought you could have in the old life.
And you'll get double for your trouble.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah.
Well, I know for sure you will be an inspiration to others, and I really appreciate your taking the time to share your story, because, as I said, there's real life situations and there's some people who actually need to hear this. So I know we'll be sending those links out because it will make a difference.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So thank you. We're going to wrap this session up. And this basically was part 2 with Rolanda. And I hope that you learned something from this and that there is a takeaway, something that will at least help someone else.